Today I speak to you on parental responsibility, that is, to prepare children for life. The gift of parenthood is one of the greatest privileges and responsibilities entrusted to human beings by God. In the mystery of creation, God, who is the author and giver of life, shares with parents the divine power to co-create. Through the process of childbearing and child-rearing, parents participate intimately in God's creative work. Yet this participation is not merely biological. It carries profound spiritual, moral, and social responsibilities. To be a parent, therefore, is to be a collaborator with God in forming a human being capable of reflecting His image and fulfilling His purpose in the world. Childbearing is far more than the continuation of the human species. It is an act of sacred partnership with the Creator. In bringing a new life into existence, parents become instruments of God's creative will. The book of Genesis reminds us that humanity was made in the image and likeness of God. Genesis 1:27. Every child, therefore, bears within him or her the imprint of divinity. Parents are entrusted with the awesome responsibility of nurturing this divine image, helping their children grow in body, mind, and spirit, so that they may become fully the persons God intends them to be. This holistic formation means that education, discipline, affection, and moral guidance all play vital roles in shaping the human personality. A parent's duty is not simply to feed or clothe a child, but to help that child reflect more and more the goodness, the wisdom, and the compassion of God. When parents understand their vocation in this way, childbearing becomes a sacred ministry. The home becomes the first school of virtue, the first church of faith, and the first community of love. One of the most profound truths of parenthood is that a child ultimately belongs to God. While parents give life, they do not own the life they give. They are stewards, not proprietors, caretakers, not possessors. Psalm 127 verse 3 reminds us that children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. This means that children are gifts to be cherished and formed for God's purpose or God's purposes, not extensions of the parents' ambition or security. Too often, parents fall into the temptation of seeing their children as investments, future support in their old age, continuation of family pride, or vehicles to fulfill unachieved dreams. But Christian parenthood rejects such utilitarian thinking. A child is not a project to satisfy parental expectation, but a person called by God to fulfill a unique mission in the world. Technically then, a child owes nothing to his or her parents in the sense of repayment for upbringing. Rather, the moral obligation flows in the opposite direction. It is the parents who owe their children the conditions necessary for growth, character formation, and spiritual maturity. When parents fulfill this sacred trust faithfully, the gratitude and love of the children becomes a natural response, not a demanded debt. A well-formed child, shaped by love and guided by truth, will instinctively honor and care for his or her parents, not out of obligation, but from the outflow of a good heart. To prepare a child for life is to form the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. These three dimensions are interrelated and must be nurtured in harmony. Formation of the body includes care for the child's health, proper nourishment, physical discipline, and respect for the dignity of the human body. Parents are to teach children that their bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, meant for the goodness, purity, and service. Formation of the mind involves education, not merely academic instruction, but the cultivation of wisdom, critical thinking, and moral discernment. A well-educated mind is not just knowledge, but guided by truth and virtue. Parents who provide sound education for the children contribute to society's moral and intellectual strength. Formation of the spirit is perhaps the most critical dimension. This includes teaching the child to pray, to love God, and to live according to the values of the gospel: justice, charity, forgiveness, and humility. Spiritual formation instills the awareness that life has meaning beyond material success, and that every person is called to serve God through the love of neighbor. When all three dimensions are properly developed, the child grows into a balanced and respectable adult, capable of contributing positively to society and to the church. Parents who devote themselves to the integral formation of the children often discover a beautiful truth. Love begets love, and formation inspires reciprocity. A well-formed child, having internalized good values, naturally responds to the needs of his or her parents. This is not forced repayment, but the fruit of gratitude. The book of Proverbs reminds us, and I quote, "Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it." Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. The virtues instilled in youth, such as respect, compassion, responsibility, bear fruit in adulthood, shaping how the child relates not only to parents, but to the wider community. Thus, parental responsibility extends beyond the home. It is a contribution to the common good. Every morally grounded, spiritually mature young person strengthens the moral fabric of society. Conversely, neglect of parental duty contributes to the moral decay of the community. The health of any nation depends on the integrity of its families, and a particularly sensitive area of parental responsibility concerns the guidance of children in discerning their life's vocation. Every person is created for a purpose and endowed with unique gifts to fulfill that purpose. God's call may lead one to marriage, priesthood, religious life, or a particular vocation or particular profession. Parents naturally have hopes and dreams for their children's future. It is understandable that they wish them success, stability, and happiness. However, true parental love respects the freedom of the child to discern and respond to God's call. Parents are guides, not dictators of destiny. Their role is to help the child develop the maturity and spiritual sensitivity needed to make responsible and faith-filled decisions. It becomes problematic when parents impose their ambitions on the children, deciding what career they should pursue, whom they should marry, or even discouraging them from religious vocations. Genuine love does not manipulate, it accompanies. Parents are called to help their children listen to the voice of God in their hearts. Their goal is not to produce successful individuals according to the world's standards, but faithful disciples who live out God's plan in the world. In recent times, the church has observed with concern the tendency of some parents, even those of strong faith, to discourage their children from responding to religious vocation. The fear of social status, financial security, or misunderstanding of the priestly and religious life often leads parents to dissuade their sons and daughters from pursuing such paths. This attitude contradicts the very nature of Christian parenthood. The greatest honor a parent can receive is to see a child respond generously to God's call, whatever form it takes. Parents should remember the example of Mary, who willingly offered her son to the Father's mission, despite the suffering it entailed. Her yes at the Annunciation was the ultimate act of parental faith. Likewise, parents today are invited to imitate Mary's trust, recognizing that the children's lives belong first to God. Whether a child becomes a doctor, teacher, artist, or priest, the essential task of the parent remains the same: to help that child become what God intends, not what the world dictates. The responsibility to prepare children for life extends beyond personal or family concerns. It is a social and ecclesial responsibility. The church and society depends on parents to raise citizens and believers capable of upholding truth, justice, and love. When parents fail in their duty, whether through neglect, poor example, or misplaced priorities, the consequences ripple through generations. Conversely, when parents embrace their sacred mission, their influence transforms society. The saints remind us that holiness often begins in the home, where faith is lived and virtues are learned by imitation. Parental formation is also lifelong. It calls for continuous growth, patience, and humility. Parents themselves must remain open to learning and conversion. But by striving to live the values they wish to impart, they become the most convincing teachers their children could ever have. In conclusion, parenthood then is nothing less than a vocation to co-create with God, to participate in the ongoing work of redemption through the formation of human life. It demands love, sacrifice, wisdom, and above all, faith. Every child is a sacred trust, a soul destined for eternity, entrusted for a brief time to human care. To prepare a child for life is not merely to equip them for worldly success, but to form them for eternity, to help them grow into the fullness of their humanity and their relationship with God. Parents who understand their calling approach their work with reverence and joy. They know that while they may not control the outcome of the children's lives, they can plant seeds of faith, hope, and love that will bear fruit in ways known only to God. In this sacred mission, they mirror the very heart of the Creator, who forms and nurtures each of His children with infinite patience and infinite love. God bless you all.